Now, I get questions a lot at this point. They're like, well, when can I factor and when can I use the quadratic formula? Well, here on standard problems, they're not story problems. This is what, okay? You have two answers, and you have x to the second power, and you have x. That means you have to use your factoring, okay? So before you factor, you make sure one side of the equation is clear. It is. And there are 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, so GCF and the T table. GCF, you don't have a negative in the front. You don't have X on everything. 6, 5, and 1, the GCF's 1. So if it's just positive 1, you don't even bother with it. Then you label your A, B, and C. So I find the product of the A and C. It's going to be 6 times negative 1, which is 6 negative. If that product's negative, you're looking for a difference of the B term, which is 5. 1 and 6. Well, what's 6 minus 1? It's 5, so I have it. Now you got to pay attention to how to do your signs here, okay? Because the 5 is minus, well then our larger value needs to be minus. That's a given. And if it's difference, they have to be different signs. So if I have that as minus, that has to be plus. Now what does your A equal? Your A is 6x squared, so it's not just x times x. So to get that right, you need to make 4 parentheses, 2 lines of parentheses. And then you go x, but not x squared. You're splitting the x into 2 parts, x and x. And then we're going to put 6 in front of both of them, and then plus 1 minus 6. Now, I know inherently this is wrong because 6 times 6 isn't 6 either. This times this has to end up as this. Well, that's why we have to divide down by the GCF. 6 and 1, the GCF's 1, so that factor stays 6x plus 1. If I have the same number, we need to divide by that very number, 6. And that's going to be 1x minus 1. Okay? You have to know that. If they're the same number, you divide by that number. Okay, so this is factor 1, and this is factor 2. So 6x plus 1 can equal 0, or 1x minus 1 can equal 0. So we're going to minus 1. I get negative 1. Divide by 6. You can write negative 1/6 or divide it on your calculator. Negative 0.16 repeating. Okay, and then over here you add 1. And there's no sense dividing by 1. 1's the answer. So I didn't use a quadratic formula because it factored. Okay, it wasn't. If it factors, I need you to do that. On a story problem, you can go right to the quadratic formula if you want, but on these standard problems, I need you trying to factor it, if possible. Next problem, x has 2 solutions. We have x to the second, but there's an x along with it, so again, we have to factor. So there's 3 terms. So GCF. And then, again, the GCF's and the T chart. Okay, GCF, negative in front, nope. X on everything, nope. If you go 5, 8, and 11, GCF's 1. So if all the GCF is positive 1, you don't have to do it. Now, negative 1's a different story, but A, B, C. So I find the product of the A and C coefficients. 5 times negative 11 is negative 55. So I'm looking for a difference, because I got a negative, of 8. 1 and 55 is not it. That's 54. Divided by decimal. 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 5 and 11. Well, 11 minus 5 isn't 8, it's too small. So that tells me that this T chart is a failure and this is a prime expression. So to get the 2 solutions, you use your quadratic formula. So the opposite of the b would be negative 8. Square root, parentheses to the second, minus, and then 3 parentheses in a row. So b is 8, and then 4, a is 5, and c is negative 11. If the c is minus, you got to put the 11 in as negative. And then 2, and then a is 5. Okay, let's figure out what the square root is. We know this is 10. Okay, we'll figure that out. Second, double the parentheses, and you have 8 to the second power minus a factor of 4, a factor of 5, and a factor of negative 11. I got 16.85, so I put that on top of here. And now I can find the two solutions. I take negative 8 plus 16.85 equals, divided by 10, 0.88, 0.89, I guess, if you round up. I don't really care that much about the rounding. Negative 8 minus 16.85 equals, and then divide by, remember to hit equals before you divide. That's negative 2.49. Okay, next page. 4x to the second power minus 4x minus 3 is 0. There are two solutions here. We have an x to the second and an x, so that means I'm going to have to factor. I can't collect like terms because the x's are not like terms. Okay, so the whole side, I have one side of the equation clear. If I see the 0, I know that's true, and there's 3 terms. So again, 3 terms. This is always the setup. So GCF and the t-table. GCF, do I have a negative in front? I don't. Do I have x on everything? I don't. Okay. 4, 3, and 3. Okay, it's a GCF of 1, so I don't, if it's just positive 1, the GCF is a pointless step. So I take a times c. Now a is 4 and c is negative 3. So that's a negative product, and that's going to be a difference again, and the difference needs to equal 4. 1 and 12. 12 minus 1 is not 4. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4, so this is not prime. I don't use a quadratic formula. I don't want you to. If it factors, you need to factor it. So you have minus 4, so 6 is minus for sure, and difference means different signs. So if that's minus, that's plus. Now A is 4x to the second power. Well, again, it's not xx, so to get this right, we want to make 2 lines of parentheses. So I'm going to break the x squared up. I'm not going to break the 4 up. I'm going to keep the 4 in front of each one, and then a plus 2 and a minus 6. I can't believe I'm doing this, but the GCF for 4 and 2 is 2, so we divide each of these by 2, and that becomes 2x plus 1. So you need to cross that top factor out. That's no longer important. And then 4 and 6, can't believe I'm doing this, but the GCF is 2. So again, divide each by 2, 2x minus 3. Okay, so I have factored this expression, so it's now 2x plus 1 is factor 1, factor 2. So 2x plus 1 can equal 0, or 2x minus 3 can equal 0. So I subtract 1 from each side, I get negative 1. Divide by 2. You can put negative 1/2 or negative 0.5. Then add 3 to each side, so 2x equals 3. And then divide by 2. 3 divided by 2 would be 1.5. Okay, x to the second power minus 11x plus 30 equals 0. There are two solutions for x. X to the second and x, so that's another factor. I'm clear on one side, so I can do my three terms. So GCF and the T table. Okay, GCF, you don't have a negative in front. You don't have X on everything. 1, 11, and 30, it's 1, so the GCF step is obsolete. A, B, and C. So A times C. A is 1, C is 30. So that's 30 positive. So it's a positive this time, so it'll be a sum it's a positive product, so we're finding a sum of 11. 1 and 30, there's no way. 30 divided by 2 is 15, but 15 plus 2 is an 11. 17. 30 divided by 3 is 10. That's not 11 either, that's 13. 30 divided by 4 is a decimal. 30 divided by 5 is 6. I believe that adds up to 11, so this is not prime. Now pay attention to the signs, okay? 11 was minus, so 6 is minus for sure. Now a sum means the same sign, okay? So if you know that's minus as well. Now here my a is actually equal to 1x squared. Well, I know that can only be x times x to be 1x squared. So I'm going to use 2 parentheses, just 2, because I can go xx minus 5 minus 6. So this is F1, this is F2. So x minus 5 can equal 0, or x minus 6 can equal 0. So you don't have to divide to get your solutions. It's 5 and 6. Not putting the right signs leads to the wrong answer. Okay, next problem. There's 2 answers. And I have x squared and I have x. Okay. That means it's factoring. This one side's clear. There are 3 terms. So GCF and the T table. GCF, negative in front, nope. X on everything, nope. 1, 8, and 12 would just be a 1 GCF. Don't need to do it. Okay, A, B, C. So I find the product of A and C. So it's going to be positive 1 times positive 12, which last time I checked is a positive product. So I'm looking for 2 factors that make a sum of 8. Means I'm going to add them. 1 and 12. 1 plus 12 is 13. It's too high to be 8. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And last time I checked, 6 plus 2 was 8. Now, the 8 that I'm trying to get to is minus, so I know 6 is minus, and a sum means the signs have to be the same, okay? So if I know that's minus, that has to be minus as well. Now a is 1x squared, so that's actually good. I just need one line of parentheses, less work for me. So x minus 2, x minus 6. So that's factor 1, that's factor 2. So x minus 2 can equal 0, or x minus 6 can equal 0. So I plus 2 and plus 2, I get 2. Plus 6, I get 6. So 2 and 6 are the 2 solutions. Next problem, x has 2 solutions. You've got an x squared and an x, and that is factoring. F stands for factoring. So one side of the equation is clear. There are 3 terms on the other side, so that's going to be looking for a greatest common factor and then doing my T chart. GCF, negative in front, nope. X on everything, nope. 2, 3, and 5. The GCF is 1. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'll do it. I got a 1 GCF, so waste of time worrying about it. Okay, so A times C, so that's 2 times negative 5, and that's a negative product of 10. So if I got a negative, it's a difference of 3. 1 and 10, no. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay, so the 3 up there I'm trying to get to is a plus, so 5 would automatically have to have a plus, and difference means different signs. So if 5's plus, different signs means that the 2 would be minus. So a here is equal to 2x squared. Now that's a limited number of options. You can go 1x, 2x, or 2x, 1x. Then 5 is 1, 5. It could also be 5, 1. So to get this right, I'm going to want to make 2 lines. So don't put x squared, okay? You put the 2 in front, and then minus 2 plus 5. Now, if you try to GCF calculator these, it's not going to give you one. You have to know that if they're the same number, you divide by the number, and that's 1x minus 1. 2 and 5, the GCF is 1, so that'll stay 2x plus 5. Okay, so this is F1, this is F2. So 1x minus 1 could equal 0, or 2x plus 5 could equal 0. So I add 1. I don't need to divide by 1. It's just a 1 solution. Minus 5. 2x equals negative 5. Divide by 2. That's going to be negative 2.5. Now, if you want to leave it in fraction form, that's fine too. Negative 5 halves. Okay, number 3, there are 2 answers. Okay. You got x squared, you got x. So that's factoring. Okay. GCF and T. GCF negative in front, no. Got x on everything, no. 6, 2, and 5, the GCF's just positive 1, so don't need to worry about it. Okay, A times C, the product would be 6 times 5, and that's positive 30. So it's positive. This will be a sum of 2. 1 and 30, that does not add to 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. That does not add to 2. 30 divided by 3 is 10. That does not add to 2. 30 divided by 4 is a decimal. 30 divided by 5 is 6. That doesn't add to 2. And then the next number would be 6, but I already did have 6 on the chart. So this whole thing's a fail. It's a prime expression. So I need to use my quadratic formula to find the 2 solutions. So the opposite of b is 2. Parentheses to the second minus 3 parentheses in a row. So b is negative 2. 4, A is 6, C is 5. And on bottom you have 2 and 6. Okay, let's cross out that. We know that's 12. Okay, on the calculator, second, square root, double it, and then you're going to have negative 2 to the second, minus, and then 4, 6, and positive 5. Okay. I think I wrote a bad problem here. It's not uncommon. Domain error, I'm sorry, let's go to the next one. Okay, 2 answers. There's something we're going to do about domain errors later, but you don't know it yet. X squared and x, it's a factoring. So 0's there. We have 3 terms. So again, GCFT. So in GCFT, you need to attempt to factor it first. Negative in front, no. X and everything, no. 7, 8, and 12 is just a positive 1. Okay, so I take A times C. 7 times negative 12. So that is 84 negative. So I'd look for a difference of 8. 1 and 84, no. 84 divided by 2 is 42. 42 minus 2 is not 8. 84 divided by 3 is, I think it's 28. Yep. That's not a difference of 8. 84 divided by 4 is 21, not 8. 17. 84 is not divisible by 5. 84 divided by 6 is 14. What do you know? There it is. So I have minus on 8, so what's that mean? It means 14's minus. It's difference, so different signs. If that's minus, that's plus. So a here is 7x squared. So since a is not a 1, we probably want 2 lines. And I'm going to put x, but then I'm going to put 7 in front of each one. And then plus 6 minus 14. Now 7 and 6, the GCF's 1, so that'll say 7x plus 6. 7 and 14, the GCF's 7. That's 1x or x minus 2. F1, F2. So 7x plus 6 could equal 0, or 1x minus 2 could equal 0. This one's easy. You don't have to divide. 2 is your first solution. 7x equals negative 6 divided by 7. You can write negative 6 over 7, or you can divide. Negative 0.86 would be a good answer to put if you divide. Okay.